Welcome to Marauders Monthly. Scheduling conflicts prevented us from being at Laughing Sun Brewing this month for our final episode of the academic year. So we are here at the Mandan Tennis Center, and today I'm joined by Erik Porter, our second year tennis head coach here at UMary. And first off, thanks for being here, and I want to congratulate you on making the playoffs in your second year.
Thank you, yes. Happy to be here, happy to have the interview, and very, very excited for our team's accomplishment.
Going into that weekend, you had to win both games, the final home weekend of the season. It was against Bemidji and Duluth, and you guys came up big. It was your best weekend of the season, a 7-0 and a 6-1 win. How did that feel, seeing your team respond to that kind of situation and performing like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you can ask for as a coach. We've talked all year about how small the margins are for the teams in the conference between spots 3 and 11, really. And so all year we've emphasized, okay, the margins are small. You know, the difference between victory and defeat is oftentimes just slimmer than a razor's edge, right? And so we really keyed in on it heading into this last weekend to say, hey, let's put ourselves on the right side of this margin once and see if we can stretch it out, and we did. So kudos to the team. They absolutely brought their best stuff when they needed to.
And this is a team that had a lot of roster turnover from last year. Only one returner from last year's team. So does that make that even more special to get that kind of playoff berth from a lot of brand new tennis players at the collegiate level?
It does. You know, our program has had postseason success in the past. You know, we've had strong seeds and strong regular seasons, but with such a new group, it didn't necessarily feel that way. You almost had to go into it with the mindset of trying to prove yourself or reprove yourself for the very first time, and I feel like we did that. And for them it's brand new, right? 5 out of 6 freshmen, they're experiencing this excitement for the first time. So that makes me have that same excitement as a coach.
Were there challenges that provided, with all the new players?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those situations where with some inexperienced athletes, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And so when, things that I maybe took for granted, or getting into some of these close matches earlier in the regular season, I maybe expected the team to handle them a certain way, but for them, they're looking at it with fresh eyes. They literally, some of our players have not played this type of team tennis at any point in their careers. And so certainly a challenge, but I mean, have been extremely impressed and amazed really with how they've grown and developed and proven themselves when it mattered most.
And as far as the roster makeup goes, it's half international, half domestic. Mm-hmm. You have Bolivia, the Philippines, Latvia represented. So what is it like mixing all those cultures on such a small team?
Yeah, it's by design. Number one, I think for our local and regional athletes, they learn a tremendous amount from making friends and building relationships with people from other backgrounds. And for our international players, I think it's likewise. It allows you to root yourself in a place a little bit when you start to make friends with people from that place. And so that's number one. That's the type of balance and makeup that we want to have. But absolutely, with such a small team, it's a tightrope at times to say to bring in all of the customs, the norms, the behaviors, the actions, right, that any particular set of athletes would bring with them to a sports team, and then to just mash all those together and say we're going to come out with something good is a little bit of a scary proposition to make. But once again, we took an intentional approach to it, and we said, okay, we're gonna try our best to make sure that we're building the type of team dynamic that we want. And kudos to them. They really have taken charge and given us a group that has done a lot of good things and built a lot of strong relationships.
So what other recruiting differences, when getting international players versus players that are stateside?
Yeah, I think international players, in my experience, have been a little bit more location agnostic, where they're not necessarily, they don't have some of the preconceived biases maybe that that some of our local and regional athletes would have. Now, we live in a cold place, and so that's certainly a consideration. But for the most part, I think there's more openness to any location for our international athletes. Whereas with some of our local and regional athletes, I think it's more of a, at least up to this point, it's been, I'm drawn to this school and the school's identity, and I also really love playing tennis, and I want to combine those. And so we've had really good success so far in kind of blending those two different mindsets about the recruiting process.
And you mentioned, mashing all those players together, all those backgrounds together. When it comes to like building a doubles lineup, a non-tennis fan might look at it and just say, have your top 2 singles players play, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't work like that. So what goes into building the right doubles teams?
Yeah, it's a tremendous amount of thought, actually. You want to balance playing styles, right? But you also want to balance personalities, and it can change a lot throughout the course of a season. The decision to, okay, maybe I have 2 really aggressive players who are really intense personalities, and we're going to pair them together so that they can kind of feed off each other. That could be an absolutely fantastic doubles team. That could also be a horrendous doubles team. And so it really takes some constant adjustment to fiddle with the teams and say, okay, what's going to give us the best chance to win 2 out of 3 of these matches? Because we talked about the slim margins in our conference this year. Well, the doubles point often determines the team who wins the doubles point ends up winning the match a lot of the time. And so it's a challenge, but again, our team this year, we came in at the beginning and said, hey, I don't see us keeping the same partners the whole year. We're probably going to mix and match a little bit depending on matchups and depending on what the other team we're playing brings. And they've stayed flexible, and they've stayed willing to try some different combinations, and it's so far worked out really well.
And as far as singles goes, tennis is a sport that can get really lonely when you're struggling. I did a lot of that when I was playing in high school.
Yes.
From your perspective, what kind of mid-match coaching can go on to help a player that's going through a tough match?
Yeah, on-court coaching is so much mental. There's almost none of the time are we making a technical adjustment. In fact, I think an adjustment like that would be harmful in that situation. Sometimes tactical adjustments in terms of just pure strategy, like, hey, this is an evenly contested match. Let's see if we can exploit a particular trend or weakness that either I or the player happens to observe. But a lot of times it's just imbuing as much confidence and encouragement as I can. And that's not always easy. I mean, the competitor in me wants to oftentimes get a little bit more like down to business and intense about things, but it's, as a coach, I've come to the understanding pretty quickly that confidence, encouragement, support, sometimes straight up cheering is oftentimes way more effective and way more beneficial than anything closer to the Bob Knight category of coaching. So it's a tough game. It takes a lot of strength for our players to be out there, and most of the time they're not being coached, right? We have 6 competitions happening simultaneously, and so I'm just roving. And so I try, as best we can to have 2-3 minute conversations when possible, but for the most part, it's a self-coached game. And so to have the mind to be able to play your best in that environment, it takes a strong athlete for sure.
And before you stepped into the head coaching role, you were an assistant here for 2 years. So were you ready for that transition to take over the program? And what was that transition like?
I was excited. To take over the program. Absolutely. Was I ready for it? I'd say no chance. There's just a lot that goes into head coaching that you don't really see as an assistant coach. And people told me that, right? But it's a complete other conversation to experience it yourself. had this conversation with Coach Aho not too long ago, where he said, "Hey, head coaches, you have to wear a lot of different hats. Not only are you the tactical, technical, practice coach, which is a lot of times what we love and what we thrive in, but you're also being that sort of, support person, support system for an athlete. You're having to take on a teaching role, obviously compliance, recruiting, sales type of roles, and so it's just a multifaceted experience, which I think is part of the fun. And now being in it for a second year and continuing to learn just as much as ever, it just solidifies the thought in my mind that it's one of the funnest professions that I can think of, and it's just every day is exciting, and there's a new puzzle to solve, and that's why we do it.
That's great. And you and your family run this place, the Mandan Tennis Center. So is there a recruiting benefit to having such a beautiful facility like this?
Our team has been very complimentary of the facility, and part of the rationale behind building it, number one and first and foremost, was to provide a good community space to play tennis and pickleball. But also we had a pretty good idea that, hey, we're going to set it up in a fashion that is going to lead itself to pretty fun viewing and would work really well for college tennis matches. And so, yes, there's been a strong connection from the very beginning between Marauders Tennis and the Mandan Tennis Center, and I expect it to continue. Our athletes have been very impressed, very excited, and we continue to try to make the facility better for them, whether that's technology or otherwise. But it always helps having these recruiting conversations and being able to show a picture of our players playing with the bleachers full in the background, and say, we love our home matches. We have great community support, and it makes for an incredibly fun time.
Speaking of fun, you guys have had a lot of fun on social media this year. Yeah. You stepped up your presence. Who has spearheaded that effort with all the Instagram reels you put out there?
Well, it's 100% our players on the reels. They are great at finding inspiration on TikTok and Instagram and wherever else that they are searching. But we kind of took the initiative as a team this year. Fortunately for me, the other half of my position at the university is in the marketing department, and so I get to have conversations with our social media, coordinator on a daily basis. And so you pick up some things just by osmosis there, and then being able to make it a year-long initiative and say, hey, let's make sure that when we scroll down our grid, that it's not just the main page's game day posts that we're seeing, okay, what is it actually like to be a part of Marauders Tennis? And feedback has been great. The team has fun making them, and we've had great engagement, great interaction, and it's definitely had some downstream benefits that we'll just continue to see. So it's been great. We've had a ton of fun with it.
That's awesome. And with so many young players on the roster, what is your vision for the program moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's all excitement. To have a group of core 5 freshmen that have put in the struggles of a college sports season with each other and come away with some, from my perspective, really strong bonds. That's always something you can build on. Now, one of the, again, challenges and exciting parts about coaching is that even if everybody comes back for year 2, the team is still different, right? You add new pieces and people change, right? The personalities change, and so I'm of the philosophy that every group that you have, even if it's all the same faces, deserves to be treated as its own individual element or program in a way. And so that's my expectation. Is I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I know that we're going to keep investing in this group. And if the next 3 years are anything like this first year, I think we've got a very, very bright future ahead of us. Absolutely.
Great. And that was the final question, but we like to end these with some trivia about you.
Okay.
So first question might be the toughest one. I'll warn you there.
All right.
While you played at Concordia College, The Cobbers tennis team had its best year in the past 2 decades in 2018.
Yes.
Making the playoffs for the first time in 7 years. How many wins did the team have that year?
Conference or overall?
Overall.
Overall wins. Oh boy. I'm gonna say 9 wins.
Selling it short, 11.
11.
Got 2 more.
Okay. Yeah, we had a good year. That was a fun team.
That year, you and a teammate were named all-conference in singles. Who was that teammate?
That was Isaac Toivonen, number
That's
1
correct.
singles.
Excellent. This one probably is not too difficult with it happening last year. Who was your first win against as a head coach, and what was the score if you remember?
Golly. Well, conference match?
Yes, it was a conference match.
Conference
yes.
match. I don't want to take too much airtime thinking about it, but by gosh. Let me think. February at home, we would have opened, I'm going to say Winona.
That's correct.
And we won by a score of 4-3.
That's correct.
Is that the second part of that
Yeah,
question?
that was the second part. You got it.
All right.
All right, well, good job on the trivia, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
And we like to thank Laughing Sun Brewing. We're going to be there this month, but we thank them for support on Marauders Monthly. Good luck in the playoffs, Erik.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Now joining us on Marauders Monthly is the head coach of the most athletes on our campus out of any head coach, and that is Coach Cale Korbelik of UMary Track and Field. Cale, thanks for joining us on a busy week for your team.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, first we'll start with the success of your program. You had plenty of All-Americans since you started as the coach in 2021, and this year the women's track and field team, they're ranked nationally. So what goes into maintaining that level of success and building upon it year over year?
Yeah, it first starts with just the recruiting process is always very much like we have a high standard of what we recruit. And then we also have a big belief in our development. And so even if there's a kid who isn't as polished out of high school, we try to find really good athletes who are underdeveloped. And then we really rely on our coaching staff to develop them to a high level. And we've seen that time and time again to be able to happen every year. So that really helps us, at the conference and then sometimes the national level, because we've had some Class B North Dakota kids qualify for the national meet, which is great.
Yeah, and with the roster the size that you have, what goes into that progression and development, where you want to get them to a certain point in the year?
Yeah, so when it comes to that development at a certain point in the year, like you don't want to have to rely on freshmen, but it's great when they come out and develop quickly. And so I think any healthy program brings in a healthy recruiting class every year, develop them, and then really just understand that over the course of their 4 years, hopefully by the time they're sophomore and junior year, they're really starting to help the team. But sometimes you get lucky and they help you right away as a freshman. And so when it comes to the volume too, when you have a lot of people on your roster, in outdoor, there's 21 track and field events. So you have to have a lot of people and you have to have a lot of depth. You want to have seniors all the way down to freshmen. And so if you continue to develop them over a long period of time, it ends up making things a lot more successful. And then you go to the conference meet and you're just sometimes kind of surprised, oh wow, we did really well. And we had a lot of people step up, and some people have a good day and some people don't have as good of a day. So that's where depth is really important.
And a couple of those youngsters that have contributed right away, they came from Africa, which is, pretty new for this program. What was the spark of that idea to start recruiting in Africa, and what's that recruiting process like?
Yeah, so pretty much it starts out with them just reaching out to us on social media. They'll send an email because they'll find our contact information on our website, and then they'll reach out to us. And for us, when I first started recruiting, Gideon, it was dude, not really that interested in, that's so far away from home and stuff like that. But he was so insistent on wanting the opportunity. And so we went through the whole process together and he just never stopped trying. And then he made it here. And then now, once you get the first kid from a certain country, it's really easy to get the next one because now you know the process. And then they have a place where, they might come and know someone from their country, which is great. And we've seen that in Canada, the Caribbean islands, in Europe and everything like that. Once there's some familiarity, the hard part is just always the first one. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it gets a lot easier because you know the process. And every country is different. But yeah, it's just been great to have them. on the team. Faith came this year, and we have another kid named Sharif, and so they're freshmen, and then Gideon's only a sophomore, so they have a lot to come. But it's really impressive for them to come this far and trust us and guiding them to reach their goals, and that's get an education and compete at a high level.
And on the other side of that, you've hinted at this earlier, but you have 40 kids from North Dakota. So when you're looking at these small schools, like you said, what is the thing that makes you go, that's a person that I can turn into an all-conference athlete?
Yeah. Sometimes it's just you meet them and you just see their frame, or you're able to. We rely a lot on getting videos from their athletes, and it might be a throw, a jump, a running event. Distance events are always a little harder to get running videos just because it's a long video. Mm-hmm. Watching them hurdle and then being like, wow, there's a lot of things that we can improve here. So you're already doing pretty good, but what can we do if we really coach you up? And so that's where you really take advantage of the development aspect, and really just find there's a lot of really good athletes out there who just never been coached before.
Mm. And this is a very big coaching staff. So you have assistants for each discipline. Your main discipline is the sprints. So how involved are you in the other disciplines?
Yeah, so I cover the sprints, hurdles, and relays. When I first started here, I used to coach the multi, the high jump, the pole vault, the javelin. And so since then, I was able to bring in coaches who I said, hey, this is the structure, this is how we do things now, go make it your own. And so that's really nice. But when it comes to sprint development, a lot of people sprint. So, a lot of our, jumpers work with me. And even our throwers, we have them do some type of, sprint variations. Vaulters, same thing. They sprint. Our decathletes and heptathletes, they sprint as well. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to the speed and strength training dynamic, there's always the aspect of my involvement. And that's just the overall arching organization. It's the same thing with Coach Lassard in the cross country aspect is he can even help here and there. And so we just have that holistic look at how we organize the whole program, and we cover the most athletes. And so we're able to just bring that structure of what needs to be done. And then we let our technical coaches go to work on all their technique days, because that takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. And then you bring me along with the conference meets and sometimes a national championship meet. And the emotion I see there from the team is incomparable to any other sport, in my opinion. So what is that like for a coach to see an athlete reach that next level at a big meet?
Yeah, it's really fun because we always tell people, and I always tell people, the athlete that I was when I was in high school and college, I always wanted the bigger environment. I always wanted to rise to the occasion. So what we try to tell them is, we try to tell them enjoy the rise to the occasion, enjoy being around all your teammates, because when we have a regular season meet, not everyone competes all at the same time. There's some weeks where people are off, and so they're just recovering, and then there's some people who are competing. Well, that's just a great meet where everyone's competing. And so that's where the energy gets involved. And you bring, I think we got close to 60 kids for the indoor meet. Last year, we were around 70 kids for the outdoor meet. We're projected to get over 70 to the conference meet this year. And what I really learned is when I first got here, our teams, we kept them really small for the conference championship meet. And I started to think the more that we have there, one, it gets those young kids great experience. Mm-hmm. But two, they become these energy givers on day two when it comes to finals and things like that. And also the conference championship is just a great place to have a lifetime best. So you have a freshman who, they get a lifetime best, but they don't score. Well, it brings great energy, and then they bring that energy to that person, who is favored to score or made that final. And then you build up the whole team. So what we're looking for is just a mass, we're trying to build a team energy and the crowd environment through our team. So at our conference championship last year, we got runner-up on both sides, but we were the last ones to leave that stadium. And just looking at after the meet, it seemed like we were the most excited out of all the teams, even though we didn't win the conference championship. And it really goes to show you, we did a lot of great things on that day. So you maybe didn't win it all, but the kids just got so much out of it. And those are the special things. And so that's just really the difference that our coaching staff has made in the culture at those type of meets is you have to be an energy giver. Mm-hmm. You can't just take and then just be, we call it just being an anchor versus being a sail. Like, we don't want anchors on our team who just like drag us down. We want people who sail us forward. And so the kids joke around with me a lot with that analogy, but since we are Marauders, it just works out well for a good analogy.
Yeah, and a similar question is, how important is that team culture? A lot of your focus is building that team culture, and this is an individual sport, but it's a team. You're all wearing the same logo on the jersey, so how important is that?
Yeah, when I first started, it was very much about, I put myself in a pressure cooker of like, it was about the results, it was about the conference champions, the score, getting All-Americans, and I really pivoted my values to being more about the kids, more about the team that I wanted to see, and just realizing that the results take care of themselves if you have a better culture. So we've had really, really talented kids here who are national caliber, All-American caliber, conference champion caliber, and it's just was better for them to say go somewhere else because they weren't a part of our identity and culture of what we want, and they were an energy sucker. And so it's really pivoted for us. And so what I've found is even though you have one energy, like if you have an energy sucker, like they actually ruin 5, 6, 10 kids' performances because there's such an energy like taker from all them, and they bring everyone else down just to build themselves up. And so we've really tried to pivot the culture of like, you're on this team if you're going to build everyone up, and if you're not a part of that, you need to go somewhere else. And some people may say, oh well, it's hard to have talented kids stay around in Bismarck, North Dakota, but we want people who want to be here, who want to be on this team, and want to think team first versus just individual first. And in a sport like track and field, that's tough because it's a very individual sport.
Yeah.
But you can still be a great team.
Awesome, man. And there's a wide variety of personalities on the team. So as a coach, how do you find what motivates each specific athlete?
Yeah, that's always the fun part. I actually think that makes coaching a lot of fun because you're not coaching the same kid. It's like I'm not coaching just a certain type of kid from the North Dakota area. I'm coaching a kid from the West Coast, the East Coast, the Caribbean islands, Canada, Europe, and like Africa. Maybe in Europe, that's the English is their second language. Motivation style versus like the men and the women, the people who, want to be yelled at and the people who can't be yelled at. Some people, it's really fun. Some people really want to be pushed, and some people don't want to be pushed too hard. But you can coach them and push them in a different way. So doing that, it allows you to find, a lot of variety in how you can coach, which is fun. But I also tell people too, like, your coach is who they are. I never want anybody on our coaching staff to have to fake their way in coaching. We want our coaches to be authentic, and as long as there's that professionalism and there's that love and care, that coach needs to be authentic to themselves because that's how they're going to coach at a high level. And we tell people the same thing, like if you can't respond to how this person coaches or the energy that we give, and we're very direct and honest, if you can't do that, same thing. Maybe you should go to a different program that doesn't tell you the truth, that tells you everything you want to hear, but not what you need to hear. And we're totally upfront about that.
Great. And now this is the fun part. We get to do some Cale Korbelik trivia. Got 3 questions about your playing days and your coaching days. So we'll start with track. The final 100-meter dash of your career was a personal best.
Oh,
do you remember what school was hosting that meet? And a bonus point if you can tell us the time.
Oh, geez. So the final... Ooh, I don't even know that. Gosh. So that would have been, 100-meter dash, senior year.
2017.
2017. Conference championship would have been at... Gosh, where would that championship have been at? Man, I'm kind of drawing a blank because I remember the conference. I remember we hosted one when I was home, but I was a junior then. I have no clue.
It actually happened a couple of meets before the conference meet. It was William Jewell College was hosting the meet, and you got an 11.05.
Yeah, terrible time. Absolutely slow. I got slower in college. It was brutal.
Well, in 2013, you were a member of the national champion Northwest Missouri football team. You recorded 2 tackles that year. Can you name one of the 2 teams you got to tackle against?
Ooh, okay. Wow, that's another great question. I feel like one of them was like Central Oklahoma.
Correct.
Yeah,
got it. Yeah,
because I remember I got to play a lot, and that was when I was pretty young that year. And so I got to play a lot of special teams and defensive back when we were just whooping on everyone. So, yeah.
The other one was Northeastern State, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, a 15-0 season, national champions. Yep. Impressive stuff.
It's a fun year.
How many NCAA event school records have been broken by your team this year, indoor and outdoor?
University of Mary?
Yes.
Okay. Indoor and outdoor school records.
School records,
Okay.
NCAA events.
NCAA events. So we had the 60 for women, the 4, and on the men's side we had Kenny multiple times. Gideon broke his. Does it count like if they'd done it multiple times?
Just the events.
Just the events, yeah. And then we have Gideon, 2 in outdoor. So I would say we're at 7.
10.
We're at 10.
10.
Who am I missing?
Sienna and Sean got their hammer
Oh,
throws.
the hammer throws,
Yep. Nathan
yes.
got the 600. Gideon's broken
That's
4
not an
records.
NCAA event.
Oh, that's right. You got me. 9.
Okay, 9. Yep.
9.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the questions we got. Cale, thank
Okay.
you for joining us.
Sweet.
And thanks to Laughing Sun Brewing for their support of the show. We will be back with live shows next academic year. We will see you then.